Talked about intercepts. I would like to look at a graph. If you have your book or computer or whatever you have, I'd like to read from a graph. Let's say problem 4, and we are in 3.3. Problem 4 on page 200. Of course, this is entitled Intercepts. We already know how to determine them. Okay, so let's say we have this graph. I'm going to copy it. Here's the graph. This is not a line. This is not a linear equation. We are here asked to find x-intercepts and then y-intercepts. Actually, y-intercept. Can anyone give us any of those two?
Would the y-intercept be 0, 5?
Awesome. Thank you. Indeed, the y-intercept is 0, 5. Perfect. What about the x-intercept?
0, -3.
Careful.
0, 3.
Careful.
3, 0.
Very good.
And then it's -3, 0.
Very good. Because remember, the equation of this line is y equals 0. The equation of this line is x equals 0. Okay. Now I would like to graph a few more equations with you. So here's one. Using x and y intercepts. So I want to find the x-intercept and then the y-intercept. How do I find the x-intercept again?
Y equals 0.
Perfect. So it disappears. I covered it. 1/2 times what number is 0?
0.
Very good. What is the ordered pair that we just determined?
0, 0.
Good. What does that mean? That the graph crosses the x and the y-axis at the same time in one point, and that point is the origin. So I cannot find another intercept. This point, 0, 0, is the point at which the equation crosses the x and the y. I have to make up another point. And I'm saying 5, 9. No. That doesn't work. I have to pick x, calculate y. Or I pick y and calculate x. I can say 10, 20. No. That doesn't work. So make up an x. Something that I can easily multiply by 1/2. Because if you say 7, I'll say,
2.
2 is the best, really. So, how much is y? When x is 2, I must calculate
1.
1. What is the other ordered pair that we just came up with, which definitely is a point on the line? 2, 1. That's all I need. So remember what happens when lines pass through the origin. You must find another point. But you cannot just pick any point. You pick one of the coordinates and you determine the other one. Good. So then you said to plot the origin, and then 2, 1. The line crosses the x and y axis at the same point, and then I write 1/2 x. Any questions? Okay, 2 more. I would like to graph 2x equals 5 minus 1. How do I graph this? What is it? What do I have to do first? And what are the 2 key action words that we learned in this class? 2 key action words.
Fraction and simplify.
Factor and simplify. Awesome.
Close to it.
Very good. Please, this is crucial. Okay, so what do you do first then? Right? Or combine like terms or simplify and so on and so forth. So let's do this. How do I do it? What would be the first step then?
2x.
And then? Yes, and we get, awesome, x, not 2, we get x equals 2. Okay, I'm asked to graph this. What is it? Nope, this is not a point.
It's a vertical line.
A vertical line, as we said, if this is x equals 0, when I move, no, not to your right 2, I get x equals 2. Don't get into the trap of saying that this is a point. This is not a point, right? We are really told here, x is 2, y is anything, and all, not just 1 point, okay? So when we graph x equals 2, the graph is this. Clear? Okay, here's another one. Negative 3y equals 6. I'm asked to graph. So this was graph. This is graph. What do I do first?
Divide both sides by -2.
Awesome. What do I get for y?
-2.
Good. I'm asked to graph this. How do I graph it?
It would be like the last one, right?
Yes.
Along.
Yes.
Yeah, horizontal.
Horizontal line. Where exactly? Very good. It's a horizontal line. Y equals -2. Perfect. Very good. Okay. Let's see how we determine the slope given 2 points. Slope and rate of change. We already talked about it, but we haven't really practiced it. So let's take a look. Give me 2 ordered pairs, anything you can think of. And just put some negative numbers in there as well. We are on page 213. You can pick from there, or you can just give me 2 points.
-3, -3.
Okay, that's a good one.
0, 0.
Oh, okay. Very good. So the requirement here is this. Given these ordered pairs or points, find the slope and the equation of the line passing through them. Given these 2 points, find the slope and the equation of the line passing through them. Good. I start with what? Of course, I have to start with the...
Graph.
Nope.
Find the slope.
Yes. Can anyone remind us the definition of the slope? Every time we calculate the slope, we have to write the definition. Yes, and then? Very good. Over? Yes. Please remember they have to be in the same order. y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Good. So now I'm going to name my points. I'm going to say this is my x1, y1, and this is my x2, y2. Can anyone dictate slowly what we have to write?
Zero minus -3.
Right, and I'm going to write 0 plus 3.
And then 0 minus -3 again, which is 0 plus 3 again.
So then this is 3 over 3, so the slope is 1. Very good. Looking at these 2 points, do I have the y-intercept? What is required for the y-intercept? A point that specifically has what? When I ever say to you y-intercept, what do you picture from these 2 coordinates immediately?
Actually, do 0.
Very good. Do I have a point with x equals 0? Because if I don't have a point with x equals 0, then I cannot use the next step that I'm going to show you right now.
Yeah, you do.
I do. So I do have the y-intercept, 0 comma blah. 0 comma b, in our case is 0, is the y-intercept. I do have the y-intercept. Therefore, I can use y equals mx plus b, which is the slope, y-intercept. Everywhere you will find this, it will say slope-intercept, but it's referring to the y-intercept. Good. So I can write the equation of the line passing through these 2 points. Okay. I copy y. I copy the slope. What did we find? The slope was 1 times x plus, what did we say b was?
6.
B was 0. 0. So there is no need to write it like this. Of course, I'm going to write y equals x. Does it make sense that this is the equation of that? Right, because x and y are the same. Corey picked -3, 0, 0. So then this must be the equation. Because if it passes through -3, -3 and 0, 0, it will pass through 1, 1. It will pass through 2, 2. It will pass through 10, 10. It makes sense, right? Good. So let's look at another equation now. I'm going to pick 6 on page 212. And I have 4 comma -3 and 2 comma 2. We're asked the same thing. We're asked to find the slope and the equation of the line passing through those 2. Now, do I have the y-intercept? No, I don't have a point that has 0 comma a number. So I don't have the y-intercept. For that reason, we will be using a different equation. There are only 2 equations of the lines. So let me write them here. Equations of lines. There are only 2. One of them that we just discussed, y equals mx plus b, which is slope-intercept form. Only if I have 0 comma b. Otherwise, I will never bother with this equation. If none of the given points is 0 comma b, I can forget about it. So what is the other option? The other option is y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. This is extremely useful. It can be used even if you have this. So this works always. This one I recommend only when you have the y-intercept. Y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. The name of this is point slope. Point slope. Point slope form. y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. Point slope form. Okay. So, I'm asked the same thing. Same question as before. Same question. I'm asked to find the equation of the line passing through these 2 points. Where is my starting point? What do I have to find first? Without which I can't continue. I have to find the
Slope.
Very good. So let's find the slope. I'm going to write the definition. I always write the definition first. What is the definition?
Y2 minus Y1. X2 minus X1.
Now I'm labeling my points. This is my x1, this is my y1, this is my x2, this is my y2. Now slowly and carefully let's write the rise and let's write the run. Can anyone give us the rise?
2 minus 4.
Careful, the rise. The rise is the change in altitude. Y2 is 2. That's why I labeled them, so I don't make a mistake. 2 minus y1 minus negative 3. That's okay. Minus negative 3 means plus 3. We agree with the top? Everyone? Good. Can anyone dictate the denominator?
2 minus 4.
That's it. Now that we calculate the top. Five. We calculate the bottom. A positive number divided by a negative number.
Negative.
Very good. So this is negative 5/2. Now I already have some information about this line if I'm asked to graph it. Will it be a positive trend or a negative trend? Right, because the slope is negative. Very good. So now I have to use this equation. Can anyone dictate? Y is what? You can say, wait a minute, which point do I use? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can use this point or you can use this point. This is easier to distribute and work with than this one. So although I call this one x1, y1, it doesn't matter. I can use this point. So what is y1, or in this case, y2?
2.
Yes. So y minus 2 equals, what was the slope that we just determined?
Negative 5/2.
Very good. Parentheses now. X minus x1 or x minus x2, I have to use the same point. I cannot use the y from here and the x from here. So I use 2 for this. I have to use 2 for this. So in parentheses I have,
X minus 2.
yes. If I use 2, 2 in the equation and you use 4, negative 3 in the equation, we will get the same equation at the end. It doesn't matter which one you use. Very good. So now I have to distribute. It's mandatory. I distribute negative 5/2 to these two terms. So negative 5/2 times x. What is that? Very good. Now I multiply a negative by a negative. What will be the outcome? Very good. Let's multiply on the side if this is difficult to see. 5/2 times 2/1. Always simplify before you multiply. So negative 5/2 times negative 2/1 will be plus. Very good. And then I'm bringing 2. I move 2 to the other side. It's negative here. What will happen here? Very good. So that's my y. That's all that's left on the left-hand side. So y equals negative 5/2 x and then plus. That's it. What is this equation all about? What does it mean? What does it say to us?
It it's like sorting linear equation.
It's the equation passing through
The origin.
the 2 points that we started with. It does not pass through the origin because it has a free term. This equation will pass through the origin because when x is 0, y is 0. But here when x is 0, y is 7. So it cannot pass through the origin. So one more time, what did we determine? This is very important to understand. We determined the equation of the line passing through which points? 2, 2, and that's it. That's what it means. We started with this, and we determined the equation passing through them. We have the entire line now. Is that clear? Chris? Okay. Say it again.
I said I need to do homework.
Oh yes, of course, of course. So let's look at another problem. Give me another.
Out of curiosity, with that last problem, you said we have to use the point slope form.
Otherwise, you're gonna do this instead of doing this, and you'll go around in circles with finding the y-intercept. There is no need. You will find it when you solve for y.
Okay.
But I'm fine if you are comfortable with a different method. Hold your thought. If you're comfortable with the different idea,
Right.
with a different, but you'll be doing this.
I just don't recall going over this when I did the homework last night.
Okay.
Slope form.
Well, because this is already towards advanced in this chapter,
Right.
so you didn't probably get to 3.4
Yeah, I took
or
the-
3.5.
I think I took the quiz for this section.
Right.
Something.
That's okay. Yes, please.
I gotta excuse myself. I said I gotta excuse myself.
Yes, okay, that's fine. So please watch the rest of the tape. Good. Any questions? Any questions here? So let's make up 2 other points. No y-intercept. So give me 2 other points so we can do this again. And then we'll talk about parallel and perpendicular lines. 5, 2. And also give me some negative in there. Negative 10, 4. Very good. So let's practice this. 1 minute. So what is the first thing you're going to do? You're going to, please, label the points. Do we have the slope or not yet? Okay, so the slope I will write y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I will say 4 minus 2 and negative 10 minus 5. So I have 2 over negative 15 or negative 2 over 15. Do we all agree with negative 2 over 15? Yes? Okay. Am I given the y-intercept? No. So I recommend the point slope form. Y minus y1 equals the slope times x minus x1. Here's what I do. I've replaced everything underneath the equation. I replaced m by negative 2 over 15. And I replace my x1 by 5 and my y1 by 2. I position them and they're waiting for me to be replaced. I position them because I may look at the other point by mistake. Who knows what I can do, right? To be on the safe side. So then y minus 2 equals negative 2 over 15 times x minus 5. I have to solve for y. Sometimes MATLAB Plus may only ask you to present the equation as is and not solve for y. Solving for y is extremely important, however. So, how do I solve this equation for y? What will I have to do first? Of course. So I'm distributing negative 2 over 15 to x. Then I'm distributing negative 2 over 15 to negative 5. What sign do I get? Good. On the side now, 2 over 15 times 5 over 1. I always simplify first before I multiply. So let's simplify by.
5.
And the simplified form of this fraction is?
2. Oh, no.
2/3. Very good. I have to bring 2 to the other side. And I did. And now I have to add these two. I have to remember how to add fractions. The second one is 2 over 1. So how do I add 2 over 3 to 2 over 1, finding the least common denominator?
3.
Yes? So then 3, the numerator doesn't need anything, but this one needs what?
Times 3.
Yes. So 1 times 2 plus 3 times 2. So 2 plus 6. 1 times 2 plus 3 times 2. So this is 8 over 3. So the equation is y equals negative 2/15 x plus 8/3. Again, what did we just determine? What does this represent? Represents the
So
equation of the line passing through 5, 2 and that's exactly what it means. Let's look at parallel and perpendicular lines. So two lines are parallel if there is a specific relationship between the two slopes. So my arms are parallel. Why? Because they have, very good. So if this line has slope m1 and this line has slope m2, two lines that are parallel must have the same slope. Now let's take a look at two lines that are perpendicular. Two perpendicular lines form 1, 2, 3, 4 90-degree angles. Two perpendicular lines are not like this, but like this, forming 4 90-degree angles. Those are perpendicular lines. There is a relationship between their slopes. Otherwise, they will not be perpendicular. And here's the relationship. So these two lines will not be parallel if the two slopes were not the same, right? Same thing here. These two lines will not be perpendicular if the following relationship does not exist between those two slopes. So if this is M1 and this is M2, this line has, yes?
They don't equal.
No. If they equal, they are parallel.
Right.
This cannot be the same.
Yeah, I'm saying the other way.
M1 equals the opposite of the multiplicative inverse of the other.
I want to guess that.
So if this slope is 3, what will the slope of this one be? Say it again. Multiplicative inverse. So if M1 is 3, how much is M2?
-3.
No, negative 1/3, multiplicative inverse. If M1 is negative 2/5, how much is M2? Exactly. Personally, I don't remember the relationship like this. I cross multiply and I say the product has to equal -1. They are the same. If you multiply both sides by M2, you get this. So I prefer remembering it like this. Your book presents it like that. That's why I wrote it. Good. So let's look at an example. On page 213, let's look at 67. We're given two equations. 6x equals 5y plus 1, and negative 12x plus 10y equals 1. 6x equals 5y plus 1, and negative 12x plus 10y equals 1. Determine whether each pair of lines is parallel, perpendicular, or none of the above. No, one will not graph. What determines whether two lines are parallel or perpendicular? Exactly. So if I determine the slope of the first line and the slope of the second one, and they are equal, what will I conclude about the lines? Right. If I determine the slope of the first and the slope of the second, and their product is -1, what do I conclude about the two lines? They are perpendicular. So all I have to do is find the slope. How do I find the slope? I have the equation 6x equals 5y plus 1. Don't do that. I don't want this. I want to write something like, I want to have something like this so I can identify the slope. But this is solved for exactly. So if this equation that enables me to find the slope and the y-intercept is basically solved for y, what should I do here to find the slope and the y-intercept? What should I do to this equation? Solve for y. Good. So I have one more time, 6x equals 5y plus 1. How do I solve for y? What will be the first step?
Subtract 1.
Of course. So then I'm going to write it 6x minus 1 equals 5y, but I want to have it from the right correctly in order. So I'm going to reverse it as 5y equals 6x minus 1. Writing it from left to right or from right to left is the same thing. So what would I have to do now? I have one more step. Divide both sides by? Awesome. Now, I don't want you to write, it's not a mistake, but I don't want you to write this. I don't want that. I want us to divide by 5 term by term, not like this. So 5y divided by 5 is y. 6x divided by 5 is 6/5 x. And -1 divided by 5 is -1/5. If I don't write it like this, I may bless you. I may not be. I did tell her that it's freezing in here, and I think it is. Anyway, so Can anyone identify the slope of the first line simply by comparison to this equation?
6/5.
Do you all agree that the slope of the first one is 6/5? Okay, I will repeat the process for the second equation and doing the same thing to find the slope. I'm copying it as negative 12x plus 10y equals 1. What do I need to do for this equation? Yes, move 12 in order. So always keep it in the same order so you can easily identify the slope. And the final step here before I find the slope would be divide both sides by 10, term by term. Don't just write a long fraction line on the right hand side, please. So divide by 10, so I have y equals 12 divided by 10. 12 divided by 10, I took it on the side and I will simplify by
2.
2. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So then what do I write? 6/5 x plus,
Times 10.
I'm dividing by 10, so it's 1 over 10. Now, can anyone identify the slope of the second line?
It's the same.
Yes. Now we can conclude. Only now we conclude about the lines. What is the conclusion about these two lines?
Parallel.
Yes, because their slopes are the same. Is that clear? So M1 equals M2 equals 6/5. Therefore, lines are parallel. Okay, here's another example for you to work on right now. Let's say problem 70 on the same page, 213. 10 plus 3x equals 5y. 5x plus 3y equals 1. Same question. Determine without graphing whether the two lines are parallel, perpendicular, or none of the above. What is the target? What would you find? Yes, once you find the slope, there are two options. Either they are equal, which means that the lines are, yes please.
Does that say 3x plus 3y?
10 plus 3x equals 5y, 5x plus 3y equals 1. So if you find that the slopes are the same, what would you conclude? Parallel. What if you find that one is the negative multiplicative inverse of the other? What would you conclude? Parallel. What if none of the above happens? What would you say? Neither nor. Perfect. Do we need more time? I'll put my attendance in then. Okay? So, you solve for y, the first equation, dividing both sides by 5. So then I have y equals 3/5 x plus 2. Did we all get this? Yes?
Yep.
Now for the second one, I have 3y equals negative 5x plus 1. I have to divide both sides by 3. So y equals negative 5/3 x plus 1/3. Did we all get this? For the second one. What is the slope of the first line? What is the slope of the second line? Conclusion.
Perpendicular.
Perpendicular, right? Because they're not the same. Their product is -1. Or one is the multiplicative inverse of the other.
So when it is the multiplicative inverse, that's against them.
That's the rule for perpendicular, yes.
Can you always find y before x? You always have to find y before x.
I never find x.
No, I said, do you have to find y before finding x? Just
I never find x. I only have to solve for y.
and then,
We solve for y.
Mhm.
We are not solving for x. We do not find x. But we have to put it in that order if that's what you meant. It has to be in this order so I can identify it
Yeah.
correctly. Yes, yes, it has to be. Perpendicular lines. Any questions? Okay, I would like to read from a graph. So I'm looking at a graph, let's say problem 82 on page 215. So the graph shows a line, and in the book it gives us two ordered pairs. It says 2004, comma 8.8 and 2008, comma 9.4. These two ordered pairs are given to us. Let's read the question. Americans are keeping their cars longer. I do too. I have a 17-year-old car. The graph below shows the median age, Y in years, of automobiles in the United States for the years shown. Write the slope as a decimal. That's all they want us to find. And identify what it means. They only want us to find the slope. So this is the age of the vehicle, and this is the year. So we want to identify the slope and say what it means. Ready? Can anyone dictate, first of all, the equation of the slope? We always start by writing it, please, so we don't forget what it is.
Y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1.
Very good. And then
9.4 minus 8.8. And then 2008 minus 2004.
perfect. So 9.4 minus 8.8 is 0.6 divided by 4. And as a decimal number, let's determine 0.6 divided by 4.
0.15.
0.15. Without a measurement unit, this means nothing. So the slope is a ratio. Is a ratio of two variables. The variable at the top is the y variable. The variable at the bottom is the x variable. So then this measurement unit is composed of two measurement units. This 0.15 has two measurement units. One coming from the top and one coming from the bottom. So please tell me something over something. Measurement unit for the top is,
Age
yes?
and years on the bottom.
Yes. So, or per year. Yes. So, what does this mean is, and we're going to write it in words. As time goes by, it appears that every year Americans keep cars that are 0.15 years older than the previous year. So it appears that we keep them longer and longer by how much? If the trend continues, by 0.15 of a year in age. Our cars are aging per year. The cars that we hold on to
Wait. So you're saying in a year the cars are aging
per year. Yes.
0.15 longer?
Yes.
But if you have it for a year, how is that possible?
That's a measurement unit, and that's the interpretation. Yes. So in other words, next year, if the trend continues, next year, if you survey all people who held on to their cars,
Right.
their cars became older by 0.15 of a year. For that year, per year. In 10 years from now, if the trend continues, the Americans will hold on to their cars. That will be the people who will hold on to their cars will be 1.5 years older than they were today. That's what it means. Okay? Any questions? Any questions? I would like to look at a couple of word problems now. We are on page 225. This is 3.5. Equations of lines. So page 225. So let's talk about applications. I'll choose the first one and then you can choose the next one. Let's say problem 70. A Hawaiian fruit company is studying the sales of a pineapple sauce to see if this product is to be continued. At the end of the first year, profits on this product amounted to $30,000. I'm taking notes right now. At the end of the fourth year, profits were $66,000. Assume that the relationship between years of the on the market and the profit is linear. This is a very important piece of information. Linear relationship. Okay, write an equation describing this relationship. Write an equation describing this relationship. Okay, so I'm told that at the end of the first year, we make profit $30,000, and at the end of the fourth year, our profits are $66,000. And I'm asked to find the relationship between profit and the number of years. What do I do? What is given in the problem? Say it again.
Starting about
What is given in the problem? Look at all this and
First
tell.
year and the fourth year.
Say it again.
First year and the fourth year.
Yes?
And then you got 30,000 and 66,000.
Right. So now let's think. What is this? Something connected to what we've been doing almost all day today.
Here I made 2 order pairs.
Thank you. That's all I wanted you to say. First ordered pair, please. And this is crucial now. Please pay attention. This is the coordinate system. I have to make sure which is the independent variable and which one is the dependent variable. If I don't identify them correctly and switch them around, I will not get what I'm looking for. Which one is the independent variable? Always.
Years.
Yes, time. Time doesn't depend on anything, right? Time is the independent, and what will be the dependent? I know you know, but let's say it. Profit. Correct. So then, how do I write it?
30,000.
1.
That's why
Oh,
I said that.
Got mixed up. You're right.
Right. That's why I said that. The independent has to be for the first. The dependent has to be the second. And the second one? Perfect. Once I identify that, what am I going to find? Of course. So please give me the slope. Calculate the slope, please. And tell me what you get.
I got 11,000.
Without the measurement unit, it means nothing. So you wrote y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You wrote 66,000 minus 30,000 divided by 4 minus 1. Agreed? So the top is 36,000 divided by 3. And it is 12,000. Measurement unit.
Not 12,000.
Measurement unit. Remember, it has to have something coming from the top and something coming from the bottom. You cannot say that the rate of change, which is the slope, is 5 meters. No. Because if I drive home and you call me and you say, what are you doing? And I'm saying I'm driving, and you say, tell me your speed, I'm not going to say I'm driving at 60 miles. I'm going to say I'm driving at
Miles per hour.
exactly, because it's a rate of change of distance with respect to time. It's like the slope. So I have to have 2 measurement units. Measurement unit from the top.
It's 12,000 a year.
Yes, dollars, right? The measurement unit for the top,
$12,000 a year.
right, is dollars, and this is per year. What does this mean again? It means that this manufacturer's profit, does it increase or does it decrease?
Increase.
Yes, per.
Year.
At what amount by what amount?
12,000.
Awesome. Good. So I found the slope. I know what it means. What do I need next? I need the equation. So what do I have to write? Do I have the y-intercept?
Yeah.
I don't, because I have to have 0, comma, a number. The y-intercept is 0, comma, a number. So then I have to use the other equation. Can anyone dictate it?
Is it y minus 30,000?
Yes, but let's write the equation. You're right. But let's write the equation first for everyone to see. Write the numbers underneath so we don't mess up anything. So this is 30,000, this is 12,000, and this is 1. And now carefully plug them in. Y minus 30,000 equals, yes, 12,000, and in parentheses. Very good. Remember, I have to solve for y. What will you do first? Yes, I am distributing 12,000 to x and 12,000 to negative 1. And then I have to bring over, what am I bringing over?
30,000.
Exactly. So y equals. So then y equals 12,000 x. 30 minus 12 is
18,000.
18. So plus 18,000. Now let's analyze what this means for a moment. What does this equation represent? It represents the equation that gives us the profit of this manufacturer for any X items that he produces. If he produces nothing, I guess he has to start with 18,000 somehow. That's his initial opening the business. So if he produces 1 item, then he makes 30,000. If he produces 2 items, 2 times 12,000 plus 18,000, and so on and so forth. This for the first year, yeah. Yeah, so 0 will not really mean anything. Very good. Any questions on this? Let me see if there is part B. Use this equation to predict the profit at the end of 7 years. How do I predict the profit at the end of 7 years? Yes. So please determine the profit.
Using the same formula?
Yes.
Okay.
So this was for year 1 and for year 4.
All right.
So now it says, assuming that the trend continues, see what happens in 7 years. See how much you get. And I want to add a question here to this problem. Here's my question. So this was part A, this is part B, and this is part C. When, assuming the trend continues, when will the profit be 100,000? What does this mean? What am I really asked to find? What am I given? And what is the question triggering now? Say it again. Yes, for C. Yeah. Do we have the number for x equals 7? 66? It cannot be 66,000 because for 4 was 66,000.
I got 102,000.
Okay. I did not calculate. Is 102,000 correct? 7 times 12,000 plus 18,000. Is that correct? Okay. So I want now to determine when will the profit be 100,000. Since this was 102, I'm going to change it to 200. So when will the profit be 200,000? Assuming the trend continues. So what is left from this chapter is we have to talk about functions, which is section 3.6. And we have to look at section 4.1. And that this is the entire material for test 2. How do I determine when? What do I do?
You substitute 200,000 for X for Y.
Exactly. 200,000 equals 12,000x plus 18,000. Very good. First step. Very good. So 200 minus 18 is 182 equals 12,000x. So then how do I get x? Right, I divide by 1,000, so this is 182 divided by 12. How much did we get? How much? Very good. So I'll say 15 years. So in 15 years from establishing the business, if the trend continues and no catastrophes happen and nothing impedes their traffic, quote unquote, then in 15 years their profit should be 200,000. Any questions for me?